Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I am professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
Who? Oh, me? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, it's me.
Tell people about you. Where can they get your art?
You can get my art at jefflaster.com. I am currently, even though you can't see this through your ears, I am wearing my one of my newest creations. It is the Crazy Ralph Pride shirt from Friday the 13th, Part 1. You can get that. I just created a new Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Pride shirt. And my Friday the 13th Part 3 design is now up on TeePublic. Stickers coming if I make any money at Iowa City Pride this weekend.
You're behind. We already reached Friday the 13th Part 4 on the podcast. It's up now on our... Well, yeah, if you're on the Patreon, you can listen to Part 5.
Say, which you should be. So, yeah. I don't know. As we were talking about doing Part 5 last week, I was thinking back how I haven't really done that much for Part 3. So...
That's good. Yeah. You need stuff for every one of those to accompany the show.
I do. I need to diversify my Friday the 13th.
You need what's his name? The guy who dances in Part 4. Who was that? The
Crispin
big star.
Glover?
You need a dancing Crispin Glover.
I actually have a Crispin Glover sticker.
Really?
And a design that's on TeePublic, and it's Jimmy, his character in Friday the 13th, final chapter, with a meat cleaver in his face, and as he is fond of saying in the movie, it just says "dead fuck" in the Friday the 13th font. So,
and who is the woman who was the breakout star of 5? You were telling the old Ethel. Thank you, crazy Ethel. Yeah.
Sean, you can see this on on Zoom, but nobody else can see it. They'll have to go to my website, but.
There it is.
Dead fuck. Yes, Ethel. I was while we recorded on Thursday the 12th. I was wearing my Ethel T-shirt that says, "You big dildo, eat your fucking slop."
I'm telling you, she's a breakout star on the show now. She's part of the lore, so you need to get on the Patreon so you can hear all about her as you watch Friday the 13th Part 5. So yeah, we've got the first 4 that are available in the regular feed of the show, and then of course Friday the 13th Part 5 is available on Patreon until the next Friday the 13th arrives sometime next year.
Yeah, we don't have. This is our only Friday the 13th this year, and it was on June 13th, which is canonically Jason's birthday. So, yeah. The only Friday the 13th was in June during Pride Month. The only way it could have been better is if they were releasing a Star Wars movie as well on that day.
Everything's coming up, Jeff.
Just Jeff.
Except, although, did you see the trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new one they just dropped this week? That's not for anybody, you or anyone.
I saw the last one, and I kind of don't want to see the trailer for the new one.
It is cringe. So I decided to watch it and review it because I got a real big hit from telling people that there was a new trailer coming out, and I thought, well, if that's going to be popular, I'll review the trailer and take advantage of the clicks because trying to make a little extra cash if I can, and if that's what's popular, jump on the trend. So I wrote about the new trailer. I posted that medium.com/realscope if you want to read it, but it's terrible. It's a terrible trailer. And oh man, it ends with Jennifer Love Hewitt saying, the line she says at the end of the trailer for the original movie, "What are you waiting for?"
Oh God. And
she says it like she's talking to like a gas station attendant, like, why are you taking so long with my order? Like, why are you taking so long taking my money? What are you waiting for?
You know where that line came from in the original movie? They held a contest for a fan of probably the Scream movies to direct a scene. Seriously? And they could do whatever they want. And this fan said he wanted the camera to spin around while she yells at the air, "What are you waiting for?"
Wow.
Ugh.
That's
terrible.
Well, that's cringe, just pure cringe. The trailer is just miserable. The new characters are deeply unlikable. And Jennifer Love Hewitt just looks embarrassed to be there. You can tell that she's just You can tell that she's the the Temu version of Sidney Prescott. She has the only purpose she serves is just to be there. And the advice that she gives is actually in the trailer. Like the thing that she's there to do is to give them advice about trying to escape from the fishermen. Their fisherman, I guess, is not the same one as hers. I'm assuming. Maybe it is. Who knows?
Don't remember how the second
I don't know
one of
how
those
that.
movies
I
ended.
don't know how that works. I don't know who the fisherman was supposed to be in the original. Was he a mythical creature or was he a real person? I don't remember. Anyway, she tells them, well, this is personal for them, so you need to figure out why it's personal for them. Oh, well, brilliant! Now you're done. Congratulations! Thanks for being here. Now? What the fisherman's going to kill her for helping them? I don't understand. Yeah, this could not be more blatantly ripping off, just cash grabbing against whatever Scream has done. As if Scream wasn't bad enough on its own, cannibalizing itself as it has. This movie is trying to cannibalize something that's already a cannibal.
Oh, so bad. I famously did not love Scream 5. Or Scream as we're just calling it, because that's so fucking stupid. That would be like if we called The Force Awakens just Star Wars.
Well, I mean, this is called I Know What You Did Last Summer, so
I know, and that's what I'm saying. It's like I famously didn't like that, and that was one of the reasons, because just called Scream 5. Everybody knows it's the fifth one. It's not a reboot. Apparently it's a requel. The fact that they just keep making legacy sequels, like for movies that didn't even like this. The second one of this movie, the only thing I remember about it is Jack Black in dreads and brandy. I don't remember like how they defeated the killer, the fisherman. I don't remember any of it. So
because it wasn't very good. I mean, the setting was basically the only thing remotely interesting about it.
Yeah,
but they also made a couple like direct to video sequels for it as well that I guess are not canon. But yeah, it's just this thing where it's like this people might remember this title. Let's put it out there again, see what happens. It's pathetic and lazy, and we've allowed this to happen because Final Destination Bloodline was #1 at the box office. It's like the stuff like this happens because we keep going to see it.
I mean, and okay,
it's just
I'm going to defend Final Destination again, because that's a movie that it doesn't have recurring characters. Occasionally like one will pop up, but it's not about recurring characters. It's not like, Clear Rivers is the hero of all the Final Destination movies. Whereas this, it's like, okay, we have a very specific heroine who appeared in the 2 theatrical release movies. We have Sidney Prescott, who is in all but one of the Scream movies. I don't know. It's a, nobody cares. I guarantee you this is not going to do gangbusters, but they'll make another one. Speaking of movies that are going to do gangbusters, though, and I know you're into popcorn buckets. Have you seen the Megan 2.0 popcorn bucket?
No, I have not.
I want it so bad, but I just laid out so much money this week on stuff for some shows that I'm doing this fall. I just want it so bad. I saw it today. I was like, oh my God, what bill can I not pay this month? But I can't. So,
what does it look like?
The costume that she's wearing in the like virtual reality, whatever kind of thing that looks like the pink one with the short hair. That's it. It's her Head and Shoulders, and I want it so bad I can almost taste it.
So, you're eating popcorn out of her skull? Is that it?
Pretty much.
Nothing will ever beat the Dune bucket. Is always going to be the GOAT when it comes to buckets.
This is true. I did see today when I went to see Materialists, I saw that there's a Jurassic Park dinosaur head one too.
Really?
Yeah.
I might go for that. I have a rather large collection of popcorn buckets currently
very impressive
around me. Just yeah, I'm. I think actually the coolest one that I have is the what is it called? Oh, I can't even remember the name of the movie, and I'm looking right at the character Venom. The
Oh,
Venom one, with the Venom's head. You just eat popcorn out of his head. I think that one's probably the
nice.
coolest one I have.
Do you fuck the Dune bucket?
That was unfortunately not at Cinemark. They didn't have that one at
Oh.
Cinemark. We've got a Cinemark theater here, as opposed to AMC was the one who had that
Oh,
specialty
that's right.
bucket. So, yeah, no, I didn't get anything cool for Dune Part Two, unfortunately.
Well, I
What I'll
hope
never
that you.
understand though is why is the Black Adam bucket the biggest bucket they ever made? Because like nobody cares about fucking Black Adam.
I don't even know what
But
that one was.
I have all of these, and this is the biggest one. It's the biggest popcorn bucket ever made
Huh.
in terms of just pure size, and it's just a bucket. Like it's not even special; it's just a bucket, but it just
Oh, it's
happens
not
to be the
shaped like
biggest
The
one.
Rock.
No, no.
Oh, what's the point?
Yeah,
They just assume that that's going to be The Rock's cheat meal. Is that bucket of popcorn?
it came with steak
Oh,
and eggs and popcorn.
it's the protein bucket. Wait. No,
The Rock
rewind.
insisted.
Yes.
The protein bucket, or otherwise what they called you in high school.
How did you know? That's my drag name. No, protein bucket. That's my drag name. No, I really like. If somebody wants to buy me the Megan popcorn bucket out there, I will. You'll get on the. We'll put you on the Patreon. It is so cool. Are you listening, Andy? But yeah, it's amazing, and I just want it for my horror room. So I might have to hopefully get paid. Hopefully it's still there when I get paid.
This is one of the many reasons why you need to buy Jeff's art. Just go on his
Yes.
website and buy some art
Yes.
so he can buy a Megan popcorn bucket.
Yes. Yeah, I want that Megan popcorn bucket, and I am willing to kill over it.
Speaking of Megan 2.0, there is a special featurette up on our Facebook page that I put together for Real Scope that you can see on Facebook. I Hate Critics on Facebook if you want to check that out. It's also on my various forms of social media if you want to check that out there. Oh, and our TikTok page. We have a TikTok. I Hate Critics on TikTok as well. Yeah, so it's just a behind-the-scenes thing talking about the making of Megan.
Yay.
2.0.
And I'll have my Megan 2.0 and I found one last Megan 1.0 print that I will have at Iowa City Pride, and if it doesn't sell, then I will have it at Planet FunkCon in Davenport, Iowa the week after. So come
You
and get
Megan
your Megan
fans, who will always be the second biggest Megan fan after Jeff.
Mm-hmm. And if you are listening to this show and you come to either Iowa City Pride, find me at my booth, or Planet FunkCon and find me at my booth. If you tell me that you heard me here, I'll give you a free sticker. Of my choice, but yeah, you'll get a free sticker.
Very cool. All right, should we talk about movies?
Let's talk about movies.
Let's talk about movies. What should we talk about first? Shall we talk about Materialists?
Yes, let's talk about that first because I want to save something else.
So Materialists is directed by Celine Song, the director of Past Lives, which I think it was in 2022. I named it the best movie of that year. It was just this incredibly moving three-person story, a husband, a wife, and this man from the wife's past coming together, and the past and kind of the way emotions collide when it comes to loving people, more than one person, with all your heart. That movie is beautiful, and if you've never seen it, you definitely are missing out. But Materialists is her follow-up to that feature. And first time she's working with a kind of a budget and some big stars with Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans. And the story starts with Dakota Johnson as Lucy, who is a matchmaker, which is the job actually Celine Song had when she first moved to Manhattan, was working for a matchmaker service. And Lucy is incredibly cynical about love. She she sees it as a transaction. She sees relationships, especially weddings, as a transaction, something that she kind of put together like a deal, like a big corporate deal, bringing companies together as opposed to bringing people together for a lifetime and family. Uh, this is going to be tested, but not in the way that you think it is. This is not a traditional romantic comedy. There are various different elements here that make it far more dramatic and observational than it is, typical meet cute nonsense romantic comedy stuff that you've seen before. And that's really what I came to enjoy about this film. Materialist is a movie that I had to fight with, especially like through the first act and a half or so. I was kind of angry at the movie. I was like, what side are you on here? Like, what are you trying to say with all this, with all these very cynical meetings with her clients and how horrible they are, talking about the things that they want in a partner. And I was really fighting with the movie. But then as it transitioned toward the last act, I really started to understand what was happening and really started to get what Celine's song was after. And what I feel like she's after is trying to create a form of realism that kind of brings some of the magic of a romantic comedy down to a real life level. And Lucy's transformation from being deeply cynical to sort of more accepting of the idea of love and romance is a character journey that I found very interesting, because it doesn't seem like one that this character would be all that interested in. And I think that comes through in Dakota Johnson's performance, where she's incredibly prickly throughout, and not easy to win over. And you do get, at least I felt that I got the sense that she was maybe going to go with the more attractive option as opposed to the other option that was not promising nearly as much. I found that dichotomy very interesting. I especially loved the way that the story uses Pedro Pascal's character. I thought there was a lot of unique layers to that idea. And whether or not we as an audience watching a romantic comedy are willing to give in to that level of cynicism as opposed to, desiring for true love. And I thought that at least testing that theory and pushing romantic comedies a little bit, becoming a little bit edgy about the idea of a romantic comedy, I thought that was very interesting. And I thought that she pulled it off incredibly well, because she's just such an incredibly talented director. But I feel like you have a different opinion.
She was so unlikable as a character that it was really hard for me to care by the third act who she would end up with. I feel like she really wanted her characters to feel like they weren't going to go the route that you expect, because you expect her to go off with Chris Evans, and I really feel like she wanted to make you think that wasn't going to happen for a little while. And then by the end of the second act, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is just how she gets back with him. It's not who will she end up with. It's how is she going to get back with Chris Evans? Spoiler alert. Sorry. It was a whole lot of back and forth tonal shifts. Is it a rom-com? Is it a rom-drom? Is it, I just made up that term, rom-drom. Okay. Is it, what is it? What does it want to be? Does it want to be like a feminist manifesto on how you don't have to be in a relationship? Is it, just when it starts to take off, you get this like horrible thing that happens to one of the characters, and it just stops the movie in its tracks. And I thought she had so much more chemistry with Pedro Pascal, but then it just seemed like, and that was building, it was building. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, we've written ourselves into a corner with this character, and we have to, how do we get her with Chris Evans? Oh, you don't love me and I don't love you. Well, then what was all this for? What was the building of this? What is her maturing enough to know that, yes, she's going after what she really wants, and that she can be friends with John, but she can't be with him. Um, and everything about her character up until the point that she dumped Harry was, building towards accepting who I am as a person and becoming that person, but having humility and empathy to go along with it. And when she's up there saying, I'm a bad person and this is why I'm a bad person, I was like, yep, you are. You're a bad person. Okay. Um, I was really honestly surprised that she just didn't start laughing at Pedro Pascal when the revelation that like somehow ends their relationship happens. Because as a character, she is a bad person. Um, I don't, I there were little hints that she might not be as bad as she thinks she is, or as bad as she's being, or anything like that. But the tonal shifts that were so like it was whiplash inducing. And
Hmm.
there was a lady who's sitting a couple seats away from me as the lights were coming up a little bit. She said, I just kind of feel like there's another act that they're gonna do a sequel where she's gonna get back with Harry, and because she just can't, she goes back and forth, and the way she talks at the end about how she loves Chris Evans is, it's like okay, this movie's almost 2 hours long. Let's get on with it, because it doesn't seem like it's enough. I don't know. The movie was well crafted. Most of it was well written. I just thought that the way it like went back and forth and gave you whiplash on who she's going to choose and why she's choosing them, and all of a sudden this one ends. I don't know. I honestly, after the second act, and I was like, okay, well, she's done with Pedro Pascal. This is where she goes to be with Chris Evans, and then it was another half hour of the movie, and I'm like,
So, see, here's the thing. I think not just you, but I think if anybody who's looking at it from that perspective missed something in the relationship between her and Pedro Pascal, her and Harry. Lucy and Harry's relationship was never about love. She wasn't falling in love with him. This wasn't romance. She was settling into the thing that she had taught herself to want, that this algorithm that had been created at work. And there's part of her that's always known how ridiculous it is and how silly it is, but at the same time, she's sold herself on this idea that finding a rich man and living comfortably for the rest of your life is what you're supposed to live for, because she had that relationship breakup with Chris Evans' character. Broke up basically because she knew he could never provide, or she felt that he could never grow up and be someone that she could rely on. And so she threw herself into the matchmaker thing and bought into the algorithm and became very, very good at creating these, cynical relationships that were business partnerships as opposed to actual love, to the point where she's completely sold herself on this idea. And then when this unicorn comes along, Harry, she first of all, she just wants him as a client, but he's the one pushing the idea that they should be together. He's the one who's trying to push this idea that he sees something in her, but uh, she's never once bought into that idea. And when he reveals himself as just another one of these people who have gone out of their way to make themselves into something that other people want, as opposed to just being who they are, it's like a light bulb goes on over her head. It's like this whole thing, this whole algorithm is so silly. It's such nonsense. And that sets her off on a different path. She's still not ready to believe whether or not Chris Evans is going to be there, be the responsible person. And that's not something that she's just going to turn on like a light switch, even though she kind of wants to do that. And I liked the way the way that Lucy wavered about those ideas. She doesn't just go, throw herself into these things. She's having sex and having a relationship with Harry, but she's not yet completely sold on the idea. She might marry him. She's never going to love him. She never loved him during their relationship. She wasn't going to love him. She was going to settle for him and settle for the idea that she'd been selling to other people for so very, very long. And I thought that was a great way to illustrate, uncertainty and create doubt and create a different sort of romantic comedy character.
I take issue with the term romantic comedy in this
Mhm.
movie just because there's nothing really funny about it.
Right, but I
There's
mean,
no
but you're going into this movie, you're thinking it's a romantic comedy, aren't you?
I didn't know. I quite honestly, I from the trailer, I couldn't tell that it was supposed to if what it was supposed to be. Um, it's there's too many moments of like heaviness, and there's really nothing that's funny. The only joke in the movie that I thought was when she said she wants Coke and a beer, and Chris Evans puts him in front of her while Pedro Pascal's sitting there. That was the only part that I was like, oh, that was funny. But that was in the trailer, so I kind of expected it. I
I
just
don't. I mean, the movie itself is never set out to be a romantic comedy, but that is the default setting that people have. I think going into it is the assumption that they're going to watch, these glamorous romantic characters. I think that's what you're thinking. Most people, if not yourself, going into this, were thinking that this is going to be a traditional romantic comedy. And I think Celine Song and A24 are perfectly happy with people thinking that, because that's part of what they're attempting to subvert, is to create a romance and create the idea of a romance and then take it in a completely different, more dramatic and more interesting direction, which I think they did.
yeah. I just again, I didn't like her character through 90% of the movie. So, and I just basically how she was written, not Dakota Johnson. Um, and I know that we both have wanted to call her Dakota Fanning at some point during this podcast, but um, I like her in it. Like I can see what she's doing and where she's at, but the character just seemed so. Even when she opens up, she seemed closed off. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because that's not who she is. Really, is a character who typically opens up. I mean, that's the person we meet who, when she's setting up these clients, is a person who who has grown quite cynical, just the way that her clients are incredibly cynical. And while she's looking down her nose at them, at the same time, that's part of who she is trying to build these people up.
Yeah. It just seemed like a lot of Sturm and Drang. Like I said, the last act could have been 5 minutes, and they could have professed their love for each other, and then we wouldn't have had to go to this other wedding, and then go to this and go to that. And I think that was my kind of
I think that's what a
moment.
typical romantic comedy would have done. See, I think that's what the audience is expecting, is for that to be wrapped up in a nice little bow, that she realizes that what she really wants is true love, as opposed to the comforts of money and power. Uh, and really, she doesn't know yet what she wants. That's what the whole point of the third act is, her figuring out that maybe I can be comfortable in a relationship that isn't based around the comforts of money and the comforts of high class resorts and whatnot. I can live with fast food dinners and uh, and maybe not having everything I've ever wanted. And I think what she the realization that she's having is also part of the journey that she's having via one of her clients who is assaulted by someone that she set them up with, and that is kind of a moral awakening for her to realize just how truly empty what she does is. Which is why at the end, when she's offered a promotion at work, as opposed to she's kind of ambivalent about the idea of continuing as a matchmaker, because she does realize just how empty and cynical that whole situation is. And I thought those were wonderful character beats, because they are not not what we're expecting of a movie to do.
Yeah, like I said, I think if she'd shown any sort of redeeming qualities in the first two acts, I would have bought a longer third act, but she just didn't. And it was all of a sudden, it just to me felt like, all right, we got to wrap this up. We got to make her redeeming, and we've got to get it with Chris Evans instead of her actually being torn between the two for the first two acts. The
She was
first
never
act.
torn between the two. Again, I gotta say that the thing with her and Pedro Pascal was never real. She never wanted to really be with him. She was with his situation. She was weighing the idea of being in the ideal situation of being a rich man's wife, which is what she taught herself and what her clients have taught her, what her job has taught her. It was not a love triangle. It was not oh man, Harry's a really great guy and I don't want to let him down. I feel something for him. No, she didn't really feel anything for him. She felt for the situation that he could give her. And
I guess I think she should
maybe
have
love
felt
could be
something
on.
for him.
Why?
Well, to make there be stakes. There's no stakes, really. Why are we spending 2/3 of a movie with a guy that she's just gonna like all of a sudden, I don't love you, you don't love me. Okay, let's break up.
Because it's her realizing that this isn't what she wanted. That even though this is what she's taught herself to want, and what a lot of the society that she belongs to has taught her to want is financial security, and I mean everything about Harry is perfect. He's got all the money in the world. He's got a great job. He's tall. He's handsome. He's Pedro Pascal. Like everything about him on paper is absolutely what she has always said she wanted. But the journey that the character is on and what's at stake for her is, finally realizing the emptiness of that idea as opposed to the idea of somebody who actually cares about you and has actually, been honest with you and been real with you from the first moment and someone you have emotions with as opposed to, I mean, she could coast through life with Harry very easily, having sex and just going to exotic places. That would be very easy for her to do, but it wouldn't be love. It would just be a transactional thing. Whereas, with Chris Evans' character, that's actual love that comes with all the trappings and emotions of actual love where something's on the line. Like if her and Harry ever got divorced, if she went along with that, it wouldn't have mattered. She could have walked away and remained rich and gone on with her life. But with John, Chris Evans, I think there's actual stakes because she actually does care about him. And that's kind of what she's been fighting is not caring about him so she can do this empty, cynical thing that would reasonably make her comfortable and potentially happy for a long time. And I find that to be a very unusual story as opposed to the typical romance where everything is tied up in a nice little bow and explained for us all.
I guess I'm the person who would have liked to have a scene between her and her boss or her and a friend. If she had any friends, she doesn't really. Where she says, she telegraphs that a little better then instead of, always just questioning his motives. I would have liked that where she's like, yeah, he treats me well. And, he's rich, exactly what I want. And then, her friend, the friend could have said, but do you love him? And she could have just said, I don't know. And then that could have set it up for later instead of just seems happy and she's introducing John to her boyfriend. And then I don't love you. You don't love me. So, but I mean, everybody's different. That's just not my taste, I guess. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I think you're kind of missing something on there, but that's fine. I understand where you're coming from.
This is why I hate critics.
Let's move into the Stephen King portion of our show, shall we?
Let's.
The Life of Chuck stars Tom Hiddleston as the title character, Chuck. Who is Chuck? Can you talk about You can't talk about this movie without spoilers. I hope people went to see this. If you haven't, you can just dip out for a moment, come back for the classic, because I really want you to see this movie. So we're going to just talk about the whole thing because you can't talk about this movie without talking about the whole thing. Chuck is a 39-year-old man who is in the midst of dying young. Most of the movie is set inside of his mind and the various things that his various memories and the universe, essentially, that he created in his own mind that really all of us do from the various different pieces of the world that we experience. You take something from everywhere, and whether you know it or not. And in your mind, in your imagination, in your dreams, you're creating an entire world that exists and will not exist once you don't exist. And I found this idea to be endlessly fascinating, poetic, and beautiful. And the way that Mike Flanagan explores it via this character Chuck and via the various people in his life and in his mind, I was just incredibly moved. I think I cried 3 different times watching this movie because I found these moments to be so graceful and so lovely. We start with Chiwetel Ejiofor as a teacher. He's in a suburb. Life is kind of normal for the most part, except something weird's going on. First, the internet is going down. And then there's this guy, Chuck, who keeps popping up everywhere. And there's the sign on the signs everywhere. Thank you, Chuck, for 39 great years. He's popping up on radio and television everywhere. It's odd. Then the society slowly begins to break down. And while the society is breaking down, he's reaching out to his ex-wife, played by Karen Gillan. And the two of them are going back and forth about this very unusual situation where it seems like the world is coming to an end, which causes him to go to her and for them to spend whatever little time they have left together. This comes from a place in Chuck's mind where he knew these two people tangentially as teachers, and he created something of a fantasy of them in his mind. And as I'm sure anybody who's ever seen, an attractive couple somewhere has done, you create something in your head, and you hear snatches of their story or something, and you create something in your mind, and it sticks with you. This is a very sticky movie. It's got a lot of moments like that that are just absolutely lovely. We go back through Chuck's childhood with the loss of his parents and living with his grandparents, played by Mark Hamill and Mia Sara, which seeing Mia Sara on the big screen again was wonderful. It's been so long. She was so amazing. She looks just like I just recognized her immediately. It was just so wonderful to see her. And she is so good. She has so many little moments where she just stands out. It's just lovely. You can tell Mike Flanagan must have really loved giving her this opportunity. Then you have Mark Hamill as his grandfather, who kind of is the one person who kind of puts this little bit of cynicism in this, a little bit of reality, as opposed to where everybody else seems to feed into Chuck's various flights of fancy, where he thinks maybe he might be a dancer one day because he loves to dance, but he's going to be an accountant because that's realistic. That's, something you can do and be comfortable with. The ideas here are just so smart and so strong, and the characters are so wonderfully put together. I could not get enough of this movie. I was just so incredibly moved throughout, and it's one of my favorite things I've seen this year.
Oh yeah, me too. No, I'm just kidding. I hated it. I'm just kidding. I really loved it. So back in 2020, I listened to the audiobook that this is a short story in the middle of, and it was just such a beautiful story. And it's the who we are is made up of everybody we've ever met, and it heavily quotes Walt Whitman. And I contain multitudes, and I think that's that is the driving force, is that we all create our own world, no matter who we are, for good or evil, or just indifference. We all create our own world. One of the things that I've always heard was, when you're dreaming, and you populate your dreams with faces that you've seen. Doesn't matter where, if it was on TV or if you're just walking down the street and you happen to see a random face that could pop up in your dream at any time. It doesn't mean that, they'll have any sort of big part in your dreams, just that this is something that's where that comes from. Now, we see that peppered through the movie, and sometimes it's a little more obvious than others. And the fact that all these different actors portray the same guy, and they just build on each other's performance is amazing. Tom Hiddleston, who I generally am fine with. He's not somebody I would rush out to see a movie, is so good, and he doesn't even have that much to do
Mhm.
outside of his, posing and dancing. Um, I when I read the book or listened to the book, I once I watched the trailer to this, I'm like, why does that sound familiar? And then I saw it was a Stephen King story, so I found it again, and I listened to it again recently, and I I was like, how are they going to do the dance? The dance sequence is going to be so cheesy in this movie, and they have two dance sequences, kind of three, but the main one that everybody would be talking about was so well done and so like organic in the
Mhm.
way that it happened, just like in the book, that I had tears in my eyes watching that because I was like, it's so pure and
Mm.
so it just is. It's exactly what you picture when you're listening or reading this book. That when you're thinking about it, you're like, it would be so cheesy on. It looked like a Gap commercial from the '90s swing stuff. Um, but in the way that it is directed by Mike Flanagan, it just comes off as naturalistic, organic, and of course that's what he'd do. And when you go
Mhm.
back to find out why he
Mm.
does that, it's even, more touching that it was his grandma and the girl that he really liked, and it all led to this. And, you know, knowing that he's got a very, very short time to live after this happens is even more touching.
Mm. Yeah, and the supporting players around that, the drummer and the woman he dances with, get just enough establishment to play a role and even deepen the moment that is taking place. Their little touches. Just Mike Flanagan is so brilliant at these little tiny moments, these little tiny touches that are just spectacular. Um, One of the things that I gotta point out is Mark Hamill's performance. I think Mark Hamill deserves an Academy Award nomination. I think really
Mhm.
just about anybody from this movie could, but him especially. Uh, the the multiple scenes where they're talking about what's in the attic and why you don't go up there, and then when they pay it off, it's so amazing. It's so his reaction to seeing Chuck almost go in there and seeing what he sees and the emotion, the play upon his face is just spectacular. He's such a great actor. The desire to want to overplay that is got to be so tempting for an actor, and uh, I felt like I was watching like Walter Matthau in his prime, like a kind of guy like that who could play a role, play any role, whether serious or otherwise. And it's kind of what I got from Hamill in that moment. But then, the other scenes where he's just talking about math and how math, makes the world make sense. And um, uh, there's this lovely monologue where he's explaining to Chuck, about I respect that you want to be a dancer at the same time. Realistically speaking, an accountant is safe. It's something to be safe and to do safely. And he goes on this it's a great monologue. And it's heartbreaking because, yeah, he's crushing this boy's dreams essentially, but he's not wrong. And he's not doing it. He's not coming from a place where he's a villainous character whose intention is to do harm. He's a genuine person who loves this boy and just wants him to be, have a future. And so
Yeah.
many movies take moments like that and get them so wrong because they think there needs to be a villain or there needs to be anger behind it, revenge or something. Um, and it's just not necessary. That's just not needed. Especially here, it's not needed. It's just one person caring about another person, and while it's at the same time sharing, their own fears and anxieties about the future.
Yeah, I it comes through so much better in the book or in the movie than it does in the book, where he's basically crushing his dreams and telling him to be practical. Um, and I think that's in large part due to Mark Hamill and the way he delivers those lines, and just obviously just wants the best
Mm.
for him. Um, I think that so many of the like the supporting cast is just it's like a who's who of, my my childhood through my adulthood. Heather Langenkamp shows up, of all
Hmm.
people. I was like, wait, that looks like Barbara. No, oh my God, that's Heather Langenkamp. Holy shit. Uh, I mean, the cost of her table at Days of the Dead this fall is going to go way up. Um, just the fact that, you've got people like her and David Desmalchian in just like super bit parts,
Hmm.
that just kind of tells you what we're working with Mike Flanagan and Stephen
Every
King.
little one of those parts has a richness to it. Like the conversation between Dust Malchin and Chiwetel Ejiofor is just it's kind of beautiful. They're just kind of marveling at what's going on, and they're not quite sure. They're both two men who are scared and at the same time baffled, and they don't know what to do, and they're kind of marveling at the fact that they're even sitting here because, like, why are we having a
Mhm.
parent teacher conference when it seems like the world might be coming to an end? And who is this
Well,
Chuck guy?
what the fuck, Chuck? You know who put tears in my eyes, and I never thought I'd say these two words in that context, is Matthew Lillard.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He was
Wow.
so good.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah,
You
just
know,
that where he just a moment of him just kind of wandering away, not quite
yeah,
not quite sure, like just
and
doesn't know
and
what to do, and nobody knows what to do. And
and he's choking up while he's talking about it, and that's like not a direction necessarily. I think that's just him talking.
yeah, it just
I
it
think
just
he's
felt
just
like,
reading.
yeah,
Yeah, I just
feeling the emotions of that character in that moment, which I think that's what that character would feel at that moment.
exactly. And it
And
shouldn't take the whole end of the world for these guys who are neighbors and friends to be vulnerable with each other, but it seems like based on their performances, that's exactly how it's you know coming out, is that this is the only chance they have to be vulnerable.
mhm.
So
And the idea that these are all just characters in Chuck's head, and it's him coming to terms with his own vulnerability and his own death. It's just,
yeah.
again, another layer, just layer upon layer of brilliant, beautiful, well realized emotion. And I just feel like we never see this kind of thing on screen. We never see this type of exploration and emotion, especially among men, which makes me feel like a lot of men won't sit through this movie because God will it, God help me for having to be fucking vulnerable for a moment, confronting life and death, and caring about people, being honest. Good God, please don't, please no.
I feel like for a while we had Frank Darabont as the best director of Stephen King, and now I think Mike Flanagan, after this and Gerald's Game, and he
Doctor Sleep.
yeah, Dr. Sleep, he just connects with the Stephen King mindset so well that I mean, God, there's so many other ones I want him to do. Um, even remake some of the older ones. Um, I would love to see Mike Flanagan's Cujo. Just like the way he directs people.
Hmm.
Um, even like the Haunting of Hill House and all of that. Oh, and I did. Speaking of that, there was a somebody online compared him to Rob Zombie because he puts his wife in everything, and I was like, he's like a talented Rob Zombie.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Yeah, he's Rob Zombie whose wife can act. Yeah, it just whenever somebody talks about Stephen King's best adaptation being like the Shawshank Redemption, I'm going to tell them they need to watch this because I think, and maybe it's just from so many years of hearing that the Shawshank Redemption is the best Stephen King um, adaptation it's clearly Misery. Um, I want people to see this and realize that this is one of the best movies of the year. It's got the best performances of the year.
Hmm.
I just like the what's his name? Hold on just a second. I gotta shout him out because he was so good in it that um, Benjamin Pajak, who played Chuck as the kid who learns to dance.
Oh yeah.
He was so good. And he was like, did you watch the Goldbergs?
No, I've never seen it.
He kind of reminded me of the guy who played the um, Goldberg when, as he was a kid, he was growing up and, had all this kind of wonder about him.
Mm.
Um, and just his performance where he's learning to dance and he's talking to his obviously lesbian gym teacher at the dance. And she's just like, you got to go for stuff,
Yeah.
in
I
her
mean, she
suit.
was great.
Yeah.
Even
Oh
she was
God.
fucking great in this movie. Like everybody, like, oh man. The one thing that keeps coming back to me, the one moment is Mia Sara in the kitchen teaching him to
Hmm.
dance. The lighting, the shooting style, the setting, it's could not be. It's maybe the best scene in any movie this year. And it's just this little graceful moment to kind of set up what it is that means so much to him about dancing.
Hmm.
The way it's just organically dropped into the story and how it's told and that look on Mia Sara's face. She is just so lovely in that moment. I can't even, I'm tearing up just thinking about it.
I've been thinking a lot lately about, lighting and color theory in movies and things like that. And there's something about when we are thinking about how our childhood was, that all the good memories are bright and sunny and airy, and the bad memories are all dark and terrible. And I
Yeah.
think about that scene because every scene with her and him alone, there's light. There's something bright about it. All the kitchen scenes are all this like buttery yellow, and buttery yellow light.
Hmm.
Even the scene where she's kind of explaining to Chuck that her husband is a little, he's a little old and a little kind of maybe dotty. And they're just sitting in the living room, just after he's gone out to the store, just so she can have this conversation with him.
Hmm.
And the fact that the light there, it's just kind of a softer light. Um, and Mia Sara is just so good in this. And you don't think about her as somebody who would do a performance like this.
No, I mean,
You think of,
it feels like 30 years since we've even seen her.
yeah, you're not wrong. Um, but and I don't know if it's her or if it's Michael Flanagan or what, but it's just everybody is so amazing in it. Um, I I
Yeah, just
I mean,
to your point about the color for just a moment. One of the final scenes we see when he finally does go to the attic himself and sees it,
mhm,
the lighting in that moment is it's very similar to the kitchen scene but dimmer because it's
yeah,
growing dim, and it's just, I know that's a little thing, it's such a little thing, but the directors who think of stuff like that, those are the great directors. Those are the people who understand that even something as small as marrying the image of one light from one room to the light in another room matters. It's something that most people are not going to notice, but subtextually you are picking up on that. Subtextually you are seeing that and you're feeling that. And maybe you can't put it to words the way you and I can, but I know everybody listening to this has experienced this, whether they're able to verbalize it or not. And that's when you know you're watching a filmmaker who deeply cares about what they do.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just the just the little moments between characters who you don't really think of, um, as people who would spend time together, like Chiwetel Ejiofor and Matthew Lillard. That
Mhm.
scene is perfect. It's just
It
perfect.
really is.
Um, you know, I I hope that people go see this movie because it's so worth it. Um, you'll get to see a bunch of people you really like. I promise.
There's so many amazing people, so many wonderful performances. It's just, it's, I can't say enough wonderful things about this movie. I love it. I love it so very, very much. We barely even touched on, like, there are even more people here who are just incredible and get these just lovely, graceful moments. Carl Lumbly shows up for a scene where it's just him and Chiwetel Ejiofor having a conversation. And that conversation is just, catching up on life as it's seemingly coming to an end. Oh man, he just chooses to sit down on that bench, and it's like, that's it for him.
Yeah.
Like, wow, yeah. And we've gone on forever, but yeah.
Yeah. The scene with Kate Siegel in the classroom where
Mm.
it's just her and um, Benjamin Pajak, and are just, she's telling him that everything you've ever seen is between your ears right now. That's just, it's one of my favorite scenes in any movie this year.
The conversation we're having right now, you and I, it's between you and I, and it's affecting us, and it's something that's going to be part of you and I for a long time, but it's also going to be part of whoever is listening to this right now.
Mhm.
And that's magic. Like,
Yeah.
you're listening to this right now, and maybe you're on the fence about seeing this movie, and we've completely spoiled it for you, but maybe it inspires you to want to see it, and then you have a different experience, and I'm assuming a good one. And
Yeah.
that's a part of your life now, and that's just amazing. That's the stuff that we don't take enough time to think about in life when we're arguing about stupid shit.
Agreed. Agreed. Oh,
I'm like, I've been arguing with myself over this movie, Sinners, and Bob Trevino liked it as, like, these are just three of the best movies I've ever seen. Like,
yeah.
just such incredible things. I think I have to lead with this point at this point as the best of the year so far. But I mean, it's hard to put anything above Sinners because it is such a more complicated and like, so much more of I think, a difficult film to make. I think the bar is a little bit higher in terms of difficulty to make people actually enjoy that movie. Um, that I do appreciate that aspect, but I do think I got to put this one above it. And Bob Trevino's right there, though, folks. And if you haven't, I know I'm the only person alive who's seen Bob Trevino, but I'm telling you, it's that level good.
Now, don't get ahead of yourself, because next week is Megan 2.0.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I don't think I have to worry too much about that one.
What if it, like, turned out to be the best movie you've ever seen? You're just like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Why is this the best
Uh,
movie I've ever seen?
the complicated emotions of Megan, on life lessons and whatnot.
Oh my god! Hold on to your vaginas. Best line in any trailer ever. Yeah, go see Life of Chuck. Um, yeah, it almost makes me not want to talk about a classic because it's just such a good movie. I just want to, like,
Yeah,
completely revel in
let's
it.
blow off the classic. It's not even worth it. We were going to talk about A Good Marriage, but I mean, it's fine. It is
It's
what it is.
fine. It's based on the life, like the discovery of BTK, except his wife discovers him. It's like, okay, we get it. It's not one of Stephen King's best. I mean, it's a good short story, and the movie's fine. It's just not, I don't
I
know. It's not
recommend
the life
checking
of
it
Chuck.
out, but if there's nothing else to watch, watch
Yeah,
A
if
Good
you want to
Marriage.
just, if you're just like, I like serial killers and I like that family dramas and stuff, check it out. Um, you're under no obligation to, but if you want to be a Stephen King completist, I hate the word completionist. That's like
That sounds like something
completist.
completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are a Stephen King completist, I would say see it. Um, if you just casually watch his stuff, yeah, you can still see it. But yeah, it's no Life of Chuck.
That's right.
Most things
Life of
aren't.
Chuck is just, yeah, most movies are not that. And that is the harsh truth we must go forward with and try and watch other movies after.
Agreed, agreed. Yeah, I mean,
uh,
I'm looking forward to 28 years later, just so I don't have to hear that haunting poem anymore. Boots by Rudyard Kipling that's in the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
It just sets my teeth on edge. Like that's frightening to me. But yeah,
I think we'll probably bring back Life of Chuck again next week and talk about it more. And
this is now the Life of Chuck podcast. Delve into a different character every week and a different actor with a backstory. And
I guess that is really the only thing. I mean, we're not going to. Elio's not going to be part of the show, so that's not going to happen. But yeah, I guess probably. What do you think? Just we'll talk about all 28 movies, and all right. That's next week.
Are we including the Sandra Bullock 28 Days?
Yes, that'll be the classic.
Oh, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Have a good one.